All right, thanks, Mike. Good to have everybody here. Coming off another very good win, exciting one for our football team, especially in that the way the game unfolded. Getting to play so many people. I know we said it the other night after the game, but you come back and watch it, you get a chance to evaluate it. These players all get a chance to get out there and get game action, get game experience, get coached. It does. It makes a big difference. I think it was love how we scheduled that. I think it's a huge advantage for our football team going forward of being able to have some games like that where if you do play well, you have the opportunity to play a bunch of guys. And it's a long season. Some of these guys may not get those kind of reps again. They may. You never know how it's going to unfold. But this, it certainly helps them. It's great for team morale. It's great for evaluations of players as you go forward and as you have injuries or all the ups and downs that happen throughout a season. We'll be able to look back on last Saturday and know how valuable that was. So appreciate the opportunity for all those players. I know they do as well. On to UCLA, certainly going to be our first road test this year, going out and playing those guys. So excited. Number one, for this team to get on the road. That's been a hallmark of this team here for the last several years. Is we've enjoyed playing on the road. It's been a challenge that we've really anticipated and looked forward to. We've got a new team this year, new dynamics, and we're going to have to go approach that the same way. I think playing on the road is oftentimes it starts with your mindset, and we've got to start to develop ours. So excited to get out there to California and play those guys. I know they've gotten off to a tough start, but this is the classic deal. You look at the record and you think one thing, you turn on the tape, you see the guys that are running around on that football field, you see how well the defense is playing, you see a bunch of talented players offensively, and we know the kind of coaches that they have. So we're not going to get lulled to sleep that the fact that of what people may or may not say on the outside. We know it's a good football team. We know it's really good coaches, really good players on that side. And we're going to need to be ready to play, and we're going to have to continue to take a lot of steps. There were certainly a lot of positives from the other night, but there's still just a list a mile long of things that we have to get better at and needs to happen here quickly. And so the games, continue to reveal that. So excited about the positives, but certainly focused on this first road challenge and our team needing to continue to take steps.
Through two games, Lincoln, how has your secondary played, and what individuals are playing well back there?
I would say overall they've played well. They can play better. I think we've done a good job in coverage. I would say that's been, probably the highlight of the secondary just through two games, looking at it just kind of from an overall view. We've really covered well. Other than slipping on a vertical route the other night, the last touchdown that they had, we've really, we have not given teams much air to throw the football, and the plays that have made against us have been competitive. And then certainly being involved, in the secondary, was involved in all three of those takeaways the other night with obviously the two interceptions and then the fumble recovery. And so it's good to see them active as well. We got to continue to tackle well in space. There's been a few plays each game that showed up. And as the competition continues to get better and better, starting with this week, we're gonna have to clean that up and do better there. So, but we're playing a bunch of guys. Guys are getting experience quickly, but again, the communication and the way we've covered, early in with this system has been a big positive.
Lincoln, you mentioned that you were really happy that you had a chance to play a lot of players. Did one or two or three of those guys stand out enough to you that they'll get some room this week at practice and you'll take a stronger look at them maybe getting into a rotation or playing down the road?
Yeah, they did good. There's a lot of them that did good things, and everybody's going to remember some of the highlight plays. I mean, like the receivers, they all did some good things. They all screwed a bunch of stuff up too, and Jaden Davis made a couple plays, also a couple things he didn't do well too. I mean, and that was pretty much across the board with the young guys. I mean, there was some. excitable plays, but one play here and there is great, and we want you to make those, but it's those other ones that maybe the fans and everybody at home don't often see that can cost you ball games, especially against really good competition, that those guys are going to have to clean up. So the positives they showed, they're not scared of the stage. They're talented and good enough to make really good plays right now. But if those guys want to continue to get on the field more, they're going to have to become more consistent across the board. So, and that's their job, but also our job as coaches to get them to that point.
Lincoln, with this receiver group, how does the depth compare to some of the others you've had here? And how do you keep all those guys happy, both maybe some older guys who've had a lot of playing time here, maybe not getting a lot of catches right now, and then those freshmen?
Well, I think the older guys understand the deal here. You're not going to be the top guy every single game, and I think they know that if you continue to get reps and you continue to earn playing time on the field for us, that the big opportunities are going to come, the big games, the chances to make the catches and the plays you want to make. So I think our older guys have an understanding of that, and the fact I think we've recruited a lot of guys that are not selfish, that want to win first and put the individual stuff second. And so then with the young guys, they're kind of like we just said, they're fighting to get opportunities. They're making some plays, but they've got to clean up so many things to be able to have more opportunities. So the competition's great. I would say compared to other years, we probably have more guys that we would trot out there in any game right now and play with, and therefore more competition. So I think we're in a good healthy spot, but the group needs to improve.
Yeah, Lincoln, when you have young guys going on the road for the first time, what are the logistical things that they have to figure out? How difficult is that for guys taking their first road trip?
Yeah, we try to make every road trip as similar to a home type schedule as we possibly can. You obviously can't do it all, but we try to make it as normal as we can. But yeah, there's certainly new things. I mean, just simply flying out there, it's amazing how many guys we have that's one of the first plane flights they've taken in their lives, or certainly one of the longest. So yeah, just flying out there, staying in a different hotel. Game day's a little bit different, and then I think more than that, it's just the road atmosphere during the game. Handling the not having your fans cheering you on every time you make a big play. Having the fans erupt when the other team makes a big play. There's just all kinds of different adversity playing on the road. It's a totally different mindset. You want to do the same things, but you got to have a different mindset. And we don't want to take for granted. Our groups have been able to do that the last several years. We've been a good road team, but this group's got to find their own way to get to that point.
A trip to Los Angeles the same for you guys generally as a trip to Lubbock or a trip to Dallas or wherever, or is it different?
More places to stay than Lubbock, but generally yes. Yeah, generally the only thing that's different, I would say, than Lubbock, Dallas, any of those is just the time difference. And we've obviously had to accommodate that. Going east and playing like West Virginia and those guys too. So the time difference when you're not going out there for a bowl game, when the time difference really doesn't matter, you got plenty of time in between the game. That is probably the biggest adjustment, one that we'll have to account for.
John Hoover. Yeah.
And no, I'm not throwing shade at Lubbock. I'm from there. All right.
Regardless of the opposition, I think you'd say that Pookie is probably playing at a higher level than he was previously. Can you put into perspective his freshman year and maybe how he's responded in the spring and the off season and kind of fought through some things, and he is playing at a higher level now?
Yeah, I would say pretty typical for a freshman. A lot of times you can get in position to make the plays, make some of the plays, but you don't always make all of them as a true freshman. And I think he's a little more clear-minded right now. I think Alex has done a good job with him, and I think he's just more mentally ready to make the plays and to finish them. He did a lot of good things for us last year, and he was in position to do a lot more. But that experience is very valuable, and I would say that combined with the coaching that he's got from Alex and the guys right now has made for a good combination.
Is it different for a guy with 5-star expectations, and he came in with a little bit of brashness to him as well. He was trying to fulfill those expectations. Is it different for a guy like that?
It can be, just because, last year's a great learning experience for him, and again, any guy that's extremely highly recruited, you can put in this category too of you learn pretty quick that the outside opinions and all the hype and all that doesn't really matter. You just got to go play. And I don't think it was a negative thing with Pookie. Was there some of him last year at times trying to live up to that? Maybe. But I don't think it came from a bad place. I think it came from a competitive place, and I think he's matured some, and he's in a better place mentally. He's I think a respect for how hard you have to work. Not that he didn't work hard before, but how hard you got to work and how much you have to be on top of your game to make plays at this level, and you have to do it consistently. And he's certainly more consistent with it right now. He's still got a lot of things he's got to get better at, but he's taken some positive steps for sure.
Jenny Carlson.
Lincoln, you've pretty clearly got a quarterback who's going to run, and you've also pretty clearly got a quarterback who's not going to slide. How do you balance the maybe not taking direct contact and still playing his game? What have you talked with him about that?
Yeah, there was a few the other night that we went back and said, that a few that we didn't need to take it on. And so, but I got a lot of trust in him. He's played a lot of ball, knows his body, what he can take and can't take. There's some of the necessary ones that he needs to do a little bit better job with. But he's a big, strong kid, and so he can take a little bit more than the guys we've had in the past.
Is his strength, not that it's a surprise, but has that been something that has been even maybe above what you thought it might be with him?
Hard to say. It's just when you haven't seen somebody live, before. We got to see him a little bit in the bowl game, but when you haven't seen somebody live, you don't totally know. From the way he ran the ball, especially early in his career at Alabama, he was such an effective runner. I figured there was going to be a little bit of an element. And then just seeing him, you assume, but assuming or seeing it on tape and seeing it on game day is two different things for sure.
Tyler Palmatier.
Lincoln, how frequently have guys, especially the last couple of years, where the depth at receiver seems like it's been more, come to you about getting more touches, or or any position coach for that matter?
Not very often. Because our guys have been able to continue to produce. I think if this is year one in the system, and you've got some of the players that we do there, you probably have more. But I think the older guys have such a built-up trust, in what we do and that, on the opportunities coming their way that I think that takes care of a lot of it. And then again, there's a culture in that room, led by, Lee Morris and Calcaterra and Basquin and CD and A.D. Miller. Those guys, there's just a culture there that, you don't talk about that. You go play your butt off and worry about winning. And if you do that, like the guys before, then the stats and individual things that you want to accomplish, then those things will come.
And as a play caller, with that amount of guys, have you ever found yourself saying, maybe, like, not that you would forget about somebody, but say, hey, we haven't been getting to this guy as much? How much do you make an adjustment during the week as far as, like, we've gone away from somebody and now we want to go to him this week?
But if there's a weapon that we're not using well, we'll always look at that. But, first and foremost for us, it's going to be about, winning and producing. And so if we got guys that can help us do that we need to do a better job getting it to, then that's an issue. But we don't ever just say, well, we ain't throwing him the ball much, so let's just throw it to him for the hell of it. That's not part of the discussion.
Lincoln, when Jalen Redmond was cleared, I think most assumed he'd be an outside guy coming off the edge. What was it about his body type or skill set that led you guys to believe he could move inside? And how would you assess what he's done through the first couple of weeks?
Yeah, just watching his body develop over this time. Even when he wasn't available to practice with us, here during the spring and late last season, he was able to do some things in the weight room, and his body's continued to develop. And then as we watched him on the field, I think part of it was, continuing to try to get our best 11 out there and putting him in a position to potentially be one of those guys. And then I think with the way, that we're playing right now, we can play with a guy like that just because he's strong enough. He just, even though he's not a 300-pounder, he's got the strength of a 300-plus pounder. So you don't really lose anything with the size, but then you gain so much in athleticism, inside that he's a tough matchup for any interior offensive lineman. So he's done well. He played certainly better in this game than he did the first. He's kind of at that point where, after we moved him, there were some things mentally to learn, slowed him down just a little bit as he got comfortable, and you see him starting to think less and play more, and it become more natural, and there's just more and more flash plays with him as we go on. So he's handled it well, and he's going to get a lot better.
Joe Bettner.
Lincoln, since you've been in Norman, you haven't lost any true road games, and I'm wondering, have you seen anything or can point to anything that has helped those guys go into those road environments and be able to pull out so many wins, whether it be close or not close?
Just a mindset. We've done it with different players, different coaches, different everything, different venues. Just a mindset. It's a mindset and mentality of that those teams have had and those players and coaches have had in the past. But for us, it's something to learn from. But we got to understand that none of those count for right now. So we've got to go earn that ourselves with this group.
About the venues, is there anything special about playing at the Rose Bowl? I know it's not the Rose Bowl bowl game, but just going there and being able to be in that environment.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's one of the most historic fields in our game. So no, absolutely it is. And anytime these, especially these non-conference road games, you only get a few cracks at these. You get obviously within conference and even some of the bowl games. You cycle back through those some. You only get these. Going to Ohio State, going to Tennessee, going to UCLA. I know we've got several great ones here on our future schedule. You only get to do these, just maybe a time or two in your career. So you definitely want to make the most of it.
Yeah, Coach, your thoughts on the offensive line now that you had a chance to look back at this last game, just the progress overall, and then has anyone stood out in particular?
Didn't play our best last week. Certainly, marred by the penalties. I mean, that was the most disappointing thing about the day up front. We had just some silly penalties that really set us back, and but I think it shows you the standard, of what we expect there, and not just the standard, but how good we expect this group can be. That we can have 70 points and a bunch of yards and still not be real happy about how we played up front. So we got to get better. We can't afford the penalties, and there's makings of a good group, and we have had some really good moments up front in the first two games, but we got to continue to get more of those as we go forward.
Eric Bailey.
Lincoln, as Jalen continues to learn the offense, where are you at in terms of his decision making on whether tucking the football or staying in the pocket and throwing the ball?
I think he's done really a great job of that. He's been very patient. Very, very few negative plays. I think he's done a great job of that. They've been extremely patient. He's had a few more, honestly, that he could have tucked down that he hasn't, and he's been very efficient from the pocket. So yeah, I think he's had a really nice feel of that so far.
Yeah, Lincoln. I think it was after the game Saturday, Nick Saban said that if he had his choice, he'd load up the schedule with all, not just FBS opponents, but Power Fives. How would you feel about doing that?
Well, there's a lot to it. It's not as simple as that because we don't all play the same amount of conference games. We don't all have the top two teams in the league playing a conference championship. So I don't know that I totally agree. I said before I've been at the East Carolinas, where that's such a huge game for your athletic department, your city, your fan base, your players. You get to play at places that without that you wouldn't be able to, and have a chance to beat teams like that. And then even a game like the other night, for us, that if we play well, the reward of being able to play so many players, especially with this 4-game rule, get a chance to look at guys. I still think it creates some intriguing matchups, for both sides of it, the FBS and non and even Power 5 and non that I think are still advantageous. Now, could I get behind, maybe limiting that, and coming out and declaring exactly how many Power 5s and all that? Sure. I mean, I think a lot of people would stand behind that of just trying to even the playing field, especially, in the area of the 14 playoff. And, you get this committee here at the end that's got to evaluate not only different teams, but just a wide array of different schedules, which I know has got to be pretty tough to do.
Barry Trammell.
Jalen's numbers are crazy. His passing efficiency and things. Like, he had 3 incompletions the first week, 4 the second week. How long can that last? You played one overmatched foe, but you also played a pretty good team in week 1. So how long can you keep this up?
I don't know. Seems like same question, different year. The stats don't always reflect everything, but they do tell some. And we expect him to continue to play well. I know he does. I know he can continue to improve. Might he have some games that he plays better, but maybe doesn't have the exact same stats he's had here week 1 and week 2. I think that's very possible. But we got high expectations for him and our offense, and we've done some good things the first couple of weeks. But I mean, I would say, why can it not?
Okay, we're here, Dean Blevins.
Coach, I'm wondering how satisfied you are at a couple of positions and how the competition is per time there. The first would be rush in with John Michael Terry, Benito, and the other young kid.
Yeah, Webu. You didn't want to try to say his name, did you? Yeah. Yeah, excited about that group. It's John Michael Terry's been very, very steady for us. He's played well the first 2 games. He's just a steadying force, man. He plays very physical at the point of attack. Never bust. You just kind of know what you're going to get with him. But it's been a nice situation for both Benito and Uwebu to jump in there and play, but not have to play just a crazy amount of reps, which is ideal for those guys right now as they're getting their feet wet. But they're both extremely talented. They can both rush the passer and have really good both length and athleticism on the edge. So it's been a position that we said coming in that we were going to try to play all 3 of those guys and get a look at them. And then as time goes on, if any of those guys start to separate, we'll start to slant the reps more for that individual. But they've been productive. And again, the competition and playing a lot of bodies has allowed those guys to stay fresh and allowed the young guys to, again, kind of get their first taste of it.
The other position is the safeties. Wondering about the production, and then you got guys back there in Barnes and the new guy Washington, Broyles. These guys have been around a while. How satisfied at the position, and is there still competition there?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I would say that Pat Fields and Turner Yell, had separated themselves at least going into this season, certainly to be the 2 starters. And I don't think we've seen anything in the first 2 games that would tell us otherwise. They've done a good job. They've communicated well, held up in coverage, a couple open field tackles, and then that Trouble missed the other night. Dill Aaron, and we all call him Trouble. And great name for a safety. And then Pat had a couple penalties in the first game, but Pat played extremely well, really in both games other than the penalties in the first game. And so they're doing well. They're both young guys. They're gaining experience quickly. And, we've got those 3 guys behind them that you named, Woody, Robert Barnes. Those guys are those guys are getting better. Justin Broyles, so we've been able to develop some depth there. We know we're going to continue to need more as it goes on, but I think kind of like the whole secondary, they've played well. We need them to play better, and we're going to need all 5 of those guys, but they are playing well.
You guys won by 56 points, and right after the game, Jalen Hurts goes straight to the gym. Is there something that you expect out of him every game? Is he going to go to the gym? He seemed like he wanted to improve upon something, and I was wondering if you knew anything specific that he wanted to improve upon, that he wasn't happy about.
No, just taking care of his body. You know, it's game days, especially one like that, are one of the lightest days of the week for those guys. So it's a long season, and a lot of our players do a lot of things behind the scenes that that the public doesn't see, just to keep their bodies at an elite level. And especially quarterback's a position where you've got to do that, and taking care of body, taking care of throwing arm, all those different things. So no, that's just a guy that's been in it that means a lot too, and doing the extra little things to make sure he's ready for his team.
Over to the right, Clay Horning.
Going back to the question about playing in the Rose Bowl venue, you seem like a guy, maybe the rare coach, who's able to step outside yourself and sort of recognize moments of, this is pretty cool, what we get to do here. And I wonder if you agree with that, and is that something that you like to impress upon your coaches and your players, that it's not just, like this all the time, you got to take it all in?
Yeah, we do. We definitely do. You have to appreciate the opportunities that this game gives you, and I don't want to overlook it. Certainly don't want our staff to, don't want our players to, and I think that can be part of getting ready to play. It's when you get to go into historic venues like this or go play, non-conference games that don't show up all the time. You're going to remember these, and so you want to go play like you want to be remembered, and make sure that's a positive memory on the back end. So it's part of it for us, and this game gives you way too many cool things to experience to not appreciate it.
Your defense, obviously, new coaches means new schemes and things of that nature, but how much of what you're seeing the first couple of games is an attitude adjustment, a way of going about things and how you approach it?
Sure. Yeah, no, it is. It's a different attitude, mentality, just different vibe about the group. And, we've had 2 tests so far, and, I think there's been things we want to get better at, but there certainly has been a lot of positives, and certainly more positives than negatives, but we're going to continue to get tested, and that mentality and that toughness and how much we're willing to stick to it is going to continue to get tested in more ways, different ways as this year goes on. And so, it's held up so far, and there's no reason why it can't continue to hold up, but we're going to have to. We can't just sit there and say, well, all right, it's been better for 2 games, so it's good and we're all good. Football doesn't work like that. Football is a week-to-week, game-to-game, play-to-play test, and you're only as good as you are truly the next one. And so we've got to keep that mentality and continue to be excited about what we're building there, because we do think it's something really, really special. But we understand that there's a lot of work left there, and we're going to continue to get tested, and we've got to continue to be ready for those tests.
Injuries, Kenneth Mann, Hayes, and anybody else?
Mann's getting close, really, really close. I'd say, for this week, it's a possibility, but not a certainty. Hayes, not serious, not going to be out for an extended time. Don't know yet on this week with him.
Last question, Jenny Carlson.
Lincoln, I know you've got a lot of guys in the NFL, but Marquise having the debut he had yesterday, and considering the way that the Ravens were treating him with that recovery, sort of speaks to the seriousness of the injury. Just your thoughts about him.
Yeah, that was awesome. To see him I think first 2 catches both go for touchdowns, and I didn't get to see him, but I was meeting with their crew, but I heard a couple of our guys yelling down the hall, so I knew something good had happened. So, that was happy for that kid. Do it right back there in his hometown, too. And, after what he went through at the end of the year with us and how, disappointed he was, we all were for him. To see him go make those plays was not surprising, but it was, really, really An awesome moment, you know, and yeah, so cool for him to be able to share it with Ben and Tony and those guys. Obviously, Mark had a big day there too. You know, Kyler had a big day. You know, it's just fun to see a lot of those guys kind of get their first taste of it and do so well.
I assume you've seen the catches now.
I have, yeah, I saw them on social media. I did, yeah. Look pretty familiar.
Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening.